Hello, so in this video I really want to speak about my journey. So I think it's a bit of an interesting one, and I think it will give a lot of people some value. Okay, so my name's Joe. I'm a retired mixed martial artist and I'm now an entrepreneur. So I think it's important for me to tell my story and be open and honest like, from where I come from, because I feel like a lot of people can connect with it, especially fighters and combat sports athletes that might have been in the same space as myself. Okay, and just to realize that if it doesn't work out, that's okay, mate. There's always another way and another opportunity you can sort of make your way a success. Because let's be honest, like going into mixed martial arts, obviously we don't do it for the money. We're in the wrong fucking sport if we're doing it for the money. We do it because one, we're a bit nuts. Two, we just like fighting, and three, we do really want to break out of that mold of our family. It was sort of the same with myself. I didn't want to just be a normal working class person. Like, I do come from a working class family. I come from a working class town in Derbyshire. I'm an engineer. I was an engineer, and I was just really wanted to sort of break that mold of my family. I wanted to be a world champion in mixed martial arts. I wanted to get into the UFC, which unfortunately never happened, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But I do think it's really important that we don't put that sort of pressure on ourselves to sort of actually make it to that, because if we don't do it, then it does mess with the old mind. It does, it really does. That's why we've got to keep our options open, and always have something to sort of fall back on. And for myself, which I'll tell my story in a second, it was really important. I didn't have anything to fall back on. Okay, so my background, also, like I said, I was a mixed martial artist in the amateur scene. So I didn't manage to go professional. And yeah, to be honest, like, I had, how many fights did I have? I had about 4 or 5 fights, I think. My record was nothing special. It was like 2-3 or something, or 1-3. And yeah, it was, I didn't have the most glamorous career, but I had one nonetheless. And I do have a story to tell. So that's why I do think it's important to be open and honest, because I don't feel like a lot of fighters speak about what I'm about to speak about now. Okay, and a lot of that is, if you're a fighter and if you're on the amateur scene, chances are you are working a full-time job, and you're balancing your training as well. And your training in itself, if you're wanting to go into the pro ranks, or if you want to go pro and develop your amateur career, you're going to have to train like a professional. It's not like what it was 10, 15 years ago, where you could train an hour a day and then you'll be fine. Like for me myself, I was working 9 hours a day. I was a workshop machinist, and I'd like I said, I'd be working 9 hours a day. I'd nip home, get changed, I'd go straight to the gym, minimum 4 hours every day. And that was the sort of dedication I had to the sport. But with that, it was unsustainable. I was living an unsustainable lifestyle, and it took its toll. After years of training, years of grinding at work, it took its toll on me, both mentally and physically. And I ended up really depressed. I was in a bit of a toxic environment as well, both at work, and there was a lot of gym politics going on. As you can imagine, it's like that with a lot of gyms. Yeah, it was I was in a bad space, and the people around me and the environment I was in, it wasn't the best place to thrive and actually grow, not only as a fighter but as a person as well. And I felt like I was a really bad person to be around. And yeah, so after my last fight, I won it, and I never stepped foot back in the gym ever again. Basically because I fell out of love with the sport. I hate, like, I honestly, if you see my face at the end of my fight, the ref put my arm up that I won, and I just didn't want to be there. You could see it in my face, you could see it in my eyes, and I was depressed, and I never stepped foot back in the gym. Um, and yeah, it was a very tough time of my life. And since retiring, within the space of 2 months of me retiring, I got my heart broken as well, and I actually lost my job. Okay, so as you can imagine, that's a lot to take on, especially when I didn't really have any support either. That was rock bottom for me. I was in a very bad place. So obviously when all that happened, I was binge eating, binge drinking. I was having panic attacks in my bed, and I was severely depressed. I ended up on antidepressants, and yeah, it was a very dark time in my life, and it was only 2 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago. Um, but I do really feel like me opening up and actually explaining all this, it could help other fighters to help prevent them going to a situation that I sort of went through, um, and maybe just help you out and give you a bit of clarity on like how you can actually not go down like a dark path, because fighting was my life for a long time. I loved it, and then when you fall out of love with the thing that you once had a passion for, your purpose goes, and my identity went as a fighter, and obviously when I had my heart broken, that was a fucking dagger to the heart as well, and I lost my job. So literally I was just at home, just fucking, yeah, just crying pretty much every day. I was going through a really, really dark time, and yeah, so that was going on for about 6 months. I didn't have a job. I was, yeah, emotionally and physically a wreck. I gained a lot of weight. So I'm a big guy anyway. I'm 6'5". I used to fight at light heavyweight. I used to walk around at about 102 kg, and yeah, I ballooned up to like 150 kg, and that was within the space of 6 months. I think not even that, and yeah, I look back on it now, and you might think, God, Joe, you've gone through a lot, and you must look back on that and feel quite sad. And to be honest, I look back on it now, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful because I've already hit that rock bottom, And the reason I've hit that rock bottom, I feel like, it's because I can actually help other people, and it's difficult. It is a difficult sort of, a lot of fighters go there. That's why you see a lot of fighters go until they're washed up, and they're slurring the words, and the CTE's kicked in, and it's tough. It's tough, because that identity of a fighter, nothing can replicate it, nothing at all. This is why I dived into entrepreneurship itself, which I will go into, but let me just explain the rest of the story. So obviously them 6 months of me just being in bed, having panic attacks and being depressed, that purpose was gone. And yeah, it was a really tough time until my cousin, he said to me, look, Joe, I've got you a job with my mate if you're up for it. He's doing solar panels. I was like, yeah, get me onto it. Let me do it. So I did that. For, I'm going to do that now. I think that was like 4 or 5 months or something like that. And honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. That was doing solar panels. Literally, it was on like a Jaguar Land Rover factory in Coventry, and yeah, 4,500 panels that needed to be moved off and then moved into a different location. And yeah, it was a big job. It was massive, and it literally got me outdoors every day. I was speaking to a load of lads, like just having a good time, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I was actually having such a good time. And then after that, I ended up getting some of my own work through doing aircon through my dad. Like, we have our own business together, and we do aircon, doing it for care homes and stuff like that all over the UK. And yeah, that literally got me my purpose back, really. But deep down, I thought, I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. I don't want to be trading my time for money. and that's when I stumbled upon an online opportunity, and honestly, that has changed my life, and I've been doing it for the past year. I've travelled to 5 different countries. I've made connections, and that will be with me for the rest of my life. And I really do truly want to help other athletes into an opportunity that could help them out as well, because I don't want them to go through the same hardships I went through, and that's it. That's why I think it was a lesson. That's why I'm very grateful for what happened to me, to be honest. And I can honestly tell my story, and I can help athletes out there, especially combat sports athletes, because that was my background, to change their life. And from that year, from me starting my business to now, I've done a lot of self-development on myself. I've gotten results as well within my business. I'm growing a team of like-minded people. I'm helping especially younger lads that are just coming up through the ranks in MMA, to actually start something for themselves, and like, it's my mission. I'm truly passionate about helping them lads out, so that is my purpose now, and my mission is to help combat sports athletes transition into the online space, because like I said before, I was doing 9 hours in a fucking workshop, and that would knacker me out, especially when you're going for like a weight cut as well. It is fucking difficult, mate. Your trousers are falling down in work. You're hungry. You're fucking thirsty. It's not a great time, especially your energy levels as well. It's shocking. I've been there, but that is the essence of my story. Now I'm in a community where we all help each other thrive and make money and transition to the online space. It's not a get rich quick scheme or anything like that. I genuinely think the long game is the best game to play. It's going to take time to build. Like anything, there's skills to learn transitioning to the online space. Like when you're first time stepping into like an MMA gym or a boxing gym or whatever, you're not going to get step foot into a fucking professional fight straight away, are you? You've got skills to learn. Skills are there, and once you've got them, you keep them. That's it. And once you accrue all them skills over a certain amount of time, that is where you are ready, and that is when the results will happen, because you're ready to step into that. So I just thought I'd hop on this first video, just explain who I am, where I've come from, my sort of story, and I hope a lot of you out there resonate with it, because it's been one hell of a journey past 2 years, and I really do want to help other people out. I'm very genuine in the way I come across, and I really do want to help other people out. So I thought I'd explain that, and I'm ready to get this YouTube off the ground and running, and give a lot of people out there some value, which I know I can do. So you have a good